Good morning on this Sunday, February 18th, and welcome to the Georgia Gang. Drama that played out like a soap opera in the 2020 election interference case as DA Fani Willis and her former lover take the stand. Also, Governor Brian Kemp says he'll send more National Guard troops to Texas to help secure the border. And we're learning a few more details about the cyber attack against Fulton County. Kathy, Phil, and Martha are all here. Alicia Thomas-Cersei is in for Theron this week, and what a show we have. The debate and discussion begin right now.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
Bombshell after bombshell in the 2020 election interference case. A defiant Fani Willis took the stand to defend her reputation and the case against former President Donald Trump and 18 others.
So let's be clear, because you lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth, Judge. And it is a lie. It is a lie.
Rarely does a prosecutor in a criminal case get questioned under oath by the defendant's attorneys. But it was clear long ago the election interference case involving former President Donald Trump is no typical prosecution.
We're talking about professionalism. No, while we're talking about professionalism, she put in 3 different documents. He lived with me.
Full opportunity to respond.
A fiery Fani Willis testified she and Nathan Wade dated for about a year after she brought him on as a special prosecutor. But they've done nothing improper, and she did not benefit financially from the relationship.
In the first 3 months of 2021, when I could still enjoy my home, Mr. Wade never came to South Fulton, and it is certainly a lie that he lived with me.
Nathan Wade testified they roughly split vacation expenses, with Willis paying him back in cash.
You don't have a single solitary deposit slip to corroborate or support any of your allegations that you were paid by Mrs. Willis in cash, do you?
No, sir.
Not a single solitary one.
Not a one.
Willis confirmed she reimbursed Wade in cash, explaining her father always advised her to keep 6 months cash on hand since she is a single woman. Defense attorneys argue Willis only hired Wade, paying him more than $650,000 so far so she could get financial benefits, including the trips. But Willis remained defiant through her testimony.
I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Earlier in the day, Thursday, a former friend of Willis's testified that she saw Willis and Wade hugging and kissing as early as 2019. Okay, folks, let's run the table. Martha, when these charges were first filed against former President Trump and the 18 others, did you ever think we would ever get to something like this?
No, I mean, first of all, you know that I think that more research sources should be spent on crimes being committed in Fulton County rather than this case. But one thing I will say, and just from a communication standpoint, okay, I'm sure that Fani Willis has given the advice to 1,000 witnesses that you only answer the questions you are asked. You do not extrapolate more than that. She gave so much, and as we are taping, she's not coming back in. They had to wait longer. She was supposed to come, then now she's not going to be testifying. She should have taken her own advice, which I'm sure she gave, is that you only answer the questions that you're asked. You don't give them more.
Alicia, did it help or hurt her, do you think, that she was so defiant?
It absolutely helped her. So I've never met Fani Willis, but what I've learned about her so far is that she's strategic and she's always 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else. No one expected her to come into the courtroom yesterday, so we have to remember that. At the time, they were actually arguing whether or not she should testify. She walks in out of nowhere, unexpectedly, catches all of Trump lawyers flat-footed. They were not prepared. It was very clear. They completely failed to show any connection of this conflict of interest and that there's any benefit of any kind financially. And so I think that this is about 3 things. It's about distraction, it's about delaying, and it's about destroying the reputation of Fani Willis. And so why do I think that she helped herself? Why did she give a lot more information than necessary? Because lawyers in this case did something pretty horrible that lawyers shouldn't do, which is lie in their filings. And so she had to correct the record. She had to make sure that she protected her reputation, of which she's been dragged through the mud, and she had to make sure that the facts were actually in the transcripts. It was a brilliant move.
Phil, obviously this will come down to who the judge believes. Is this turning into a he said, she said? You had that former friend of Willis testify that this relationship started in 2019, and then you have Fani Willis taking the stand saying, no, it started after I hired him as a special prosecutor.
Well, the former friend's testimony was damaging, but yes, you're right. It's a he said, she said. The judge ultimately will have to decide. Remember, this is an evidentiary hearing, though, and so you have to see the evidence. That's why I was even surprised to see the left-wing TV network MSNBC with their legal analysts saying it was a bad day for Fani. Why? Because I think the foundation was laid that there is a conflict of interest and that taxpayer money was being used. We hadn't talked about all the cash that the DA Willis had and was shelling out, and so. And Nathan Wade didn't have the records, the evidence. She didn't have any evidence. She said she had some credit card statements. I didn't see her bringing in any credit card statements. So I do think that it was a bad day Thursday for Fani Willis. I didn't have any problem with her defiance, though. I didn't have a problem. She reminded me of Donald Trump being defiant in the courtroom.
Kathy, did the defense in any way prove any type of conflict of interest in your opinion?
I didn't see it. I don't think you can have a conflict of interest when you're in a private relationship. I think one thing we learned from both Willis and Wade's testimony is that relationship was an awful lot shorter than anybody implied in these accusations that have happened. And I just, I don't think when, two people are in a relationship together, they have to document or keep track of, of their money and how they spend it on each other.
Let's talk about that, Martha. Let's go back to this vacation expense, because Wade had testified that he put them on his business credit card and then he would get reimbursed from Fani in cash. Obviously, a lot of the folks on the defense side said, oh, no way. And if you read about social media, who does that? But there are people who keep cash in their homes.
Yeah, and I don't know if in Fulton County I would be telling people repeatedly I had $15,000 or $9,000 worth of cash in my home. I don't think that was very smart. But I do think that it is an issue, and kind of the glib way she talked about, especially that Napa Valley trip. Oh, it only cost me $750. We went and had wine. I don't really like wine. I drink Grey Goose. And then we had caviar, and then we downed with champagne. That is the kind of detail that does not help her in this particular situation, because if you are saying you can walk and chew gum at the same time, meaning you can try all the cases that need to be tried in Fulton County and you can do this case, but you're taking 7 vacations and you're not really, you've got the time to do that. The lawyers I know work all the time, so we'll see.
With 7 vacations in that short amount of time seemed like a lot, Alicia.
Well, I'm not the one you ask about vacations. I spend a lot of time on a plane somewhere else because it's an outlet. And again, these are, in particular, now both of them are public figures, right? Yet this morning, I think when I woke up, they were the first story on Good Morning America. And so I completely understand going on vacation. But here's what's preposterous to me. The fact that these Trump lawyers are suggesting that they've conspired this whole thing, forget about the fact that 19 people have been involved in trying to overturn an election, but they've conspired this whole thing just so that they could go on a cruise and go to Aruba. It's ridiculous. This is a woman who has her own money. I've seen reports that she's a millionaire. She's got multiple properties, got plenty of money. She obviously makes a good salary as a district attorney. She does not need this in order to go on vacation. So there's nothing wrong with what you do on in your personal time, wherever you choose to go, with whomever you want to go with.
Well,
now an elected official.
Let me say this.
I can't say she can't be with anybody that she wants to be with. I mean, she had testified earlier. She was giving media interviews where she would never sleep with somebody in her office.
Yes,
so
and
there
I
is
saw that video, and that's what I was going to say. Let me be clear for the record.
Yes.
Is this unwise? Yes. Should she have disclosed this relationship? I believe she should have. I don't think that was good decision making. I am not going to defend that by any form. But I am saying that it's okay that you should be able to go on trips, do what you want to do. And by the way, she didn't even benefit from the trips because she helped pay for them.
Well, that's the big question. I disagree with you because the conflict of interest is going to hinge on, did she financially benefit? And that's what the other lawyers and Ashley Merchant especially emphasize. That's going to be up to the judge. I don't see them producing any evidence, as I said.
I agree.
It's cash.
They have not produced any evidence.
No,
all
I'm
they've
talking
done is
about
lie
Fani.
in all of the filings.
I'm talking about Fani. If I could finish my point. Can I finish my point?
Okay, let him finish.
Sure.
Okay. There's no record of where this cash went. I know prosecutors and lawyers who document and judges, they document money that's done on trips, on dinners, on lunches. There's no documentation here. And so if the credit card statements that the Trump attorneys have could be very damning because the DA is not explaining what all this money came from. I mean, she was getting an electronic deposit for her salary. Everything else was this cash that came out of nowhere.
She has multiple streams of income.
She said she was broke in her book.
Wait. She did not say that.
She said she was broke.
Listen, I mean, you get paid, it goes into your bank account. When you take it out, you can put it wherever you want it. You can put it under your mattress, you can put it in the shoebox, you can put it, in another account, whatever you want to do, and then you can spend it. So she doesn't owe anybody an accounting of that. Period, full stop. And she doesn't owe anybody an accounting of what she does and how she pays for vacation with somebody she's in a relationship with. I think all of that is a step beyond. Again, as I said, that relationship was a whole lot shorter than any of us were even led to believe, and the beginning date and the end dates were not accurate in this. But in this particular instance, a lot of people pay cash for stuff. A lot of people
with taxpayer money.
Well, that's not taxpayer money after she's been paid.
But let me ask you this: what do you think the former friend had to gain to testify that relationship started in 2019?
Well, that person was angry and was separated from that office, and so I put her in the realm of disgruntled former employee. And I think you just have to take that that revelation with a grain of salt.
It's so hard to know the relationship, and the judge is going to have to decide, because you also have Fani Willis saying, well, you know how men are, they think the relationship ends here, and I had the talk here, and they're not even clear about when the relationship started and stopped.
Willis and Wade. They had conflicting statements on that.
Relationships just don't come to an end on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday everybody's moving on.
It doesn't work that way.
Stuff happens.
You shouldn't do it at work.
Well, unforced errors are not illegal. They're just not strategic.
All right.
I just want to say again, they did a poor job yesterday proving any connection, any financial benefit. I feel sorry for her, frankly, that she had to have her personal business blasted like this. I want us to stay focused. This is a distraction, and I honestly don't think they even believe there's a conflict. I think they're just trying to delay this as long as they possibly can.
Phil, if this were a male district attorney, would we be seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I think so. Because it's so controversial and politically tinged. I mean, the Trump attorneys are trying to show that this is a politically driven thing, and then you've got this conflict of interest. Remember, another judge recused Burt Jones, lieutenant governor, out of the case because of the fact that she was politically biased. And then you've got, this hasn't come up yet, as far as I know, that you've got the Biden administration conspiring with Wade and with Willis on how to take down President Trump. I think that's another issue.
Well, and I want one quick point, and I understand it happens all the time. We do all this stuff, but we've all worked for big companies, okay? And Fulton County is a pretty big company. Generally, if you're having a relationship, you can't be in the same department. Every company I've ever worked for, yes, they understood things like this happened, but you'd have to disclose it to your superiors, and usually if you're in the same department, they're going to move you somewhere else. But that's where it was a bad idea.
But he's not. It was a bad idea, but he was not an employee, so those rules don't apply for Fulton County, right?
I think you've got to see if she's getting a financial benefit. That's going to hinge on all of this.
And we'll see. All right. Lots more to come. Up next, Governor Brian Kemp says he'll send more Georgia National Guard troops to help secure the border in Texas.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Email them at georgiagang@foxtv.com.
Governor Brian Kemp announced this week he would send more Georgia National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border in Texas. Kemp held a press conference Tuesday afternoon as Republicans in both the House and the Senate pushed through resolutions condemning President Joe Biden's border policy and saying they back any effort by Governor Kemp to allocate resources for the protection of the southern border. Martha.
You know, I'm going to say something good on both sides here, okay? I think that we did the right thing in Georgia. Sending more resources down is good, and we're seeing in Texas a dramatic reduction because of the things they're doing on the border. But on the Biden side, they did a couple of discussions with the Mexican government, which the Mexican government has stepped up their game, and they are deporting people before they get across the border. And this past month, it's going to show a reduction in people crossing the border. So people are starting to listen on this issue on Democrat and Republican side. and hopefully they will continue to do that.
Alicia, as a former state representative, would you be okay with sending Georgia National Guard troops to Texas?
No. I was trying to do the research to figure out why it is this is even happening. The purpose of the National Guard is for Georgia resources. If there's some disaster that he needs to deploy these individuals, this is not the issue that we need to be focused on. And I think there's a political question here. I think a lot of us are wondering why Governor Kemp is doing a lot of these national press conferences, doing a lot of national media, now getting involved in this. Yes, Georgia has been impacted somewhat when it comes to this issue, but what bothers me the most is for years, Republicans have been talking about the need to address this issue. We need legislation. So they work in the U.S. Senate in a bipartisan way to finally come up with a comprehensive bill. Donald Trump sends a text, and then all of a sudden, we don't need a bill anymore, and it fails. And so we have to stop playing the politics. And I like Governor Kemp a lot. I served when I was a legislator, when he was a Secretary of State. I think very highly of him. But I do believe this is a political stunt, and I think that we've got to stop playing politics, start working across the aisle as they had done in the U.S. Senate, and pass a real bill.
Phil, go ahead and weigh in.
Well, ever since the 1986 amnesty that was engineered with the Democrats and Republicans, we've had rolling amnesties. I lost count. I think it's about 6 or 7. The Democrats and the left ruin it every time. Every time that people of good faith try to get some reforms on various parts of our broken immigration policy, the left always demands mass amnesty. That's what happened. Not the Republicans, it was the left. We're not going to mass amnesty millions and millions of people and then all of a sudden make them citizens. That's what the Democrats want. But when it comes to our National Guard, you know, this is a 50-state problem. It isn't just Texas. The governor has every right to help stop this out-of-control border that's the fault of the Biden administration. You know, the gang members are coming in. The law enforcement will tell you right here in Atlanta and Georgia, they're coming in from the border. Where are they going? Atlanta, New York, Los Angeles. It is a problem here. I'm glad that other governors are helping Texas.
Kathy.
I was going to answer the first couple things you said, and then you just kept going. But look, here's the deal. The Republicans have just killed 2 different bills that Biden has compromised on that would address some border security issues that Republicans wanted. So I think the better use of the time of our folks here would have been to try to pressure the Republicans in the House from Georgia to supporting these compromise bills so we can actually get something done.
They're amnesty bills.
They wanted the political issue, and they could have gone to conference committee with the bill that the House had passed. They didn't do that. President Obama and Donald Trump controlled the border with the laws that we have right now. Okay, Joe Biden could do it if he wanted to.
All right, moving on. There was bipartisan support this week on a bill that creates a new state commission on maternal and infant health. Kathy, we've talked about the fact that the rate of death from pregnancy has risen more steeply in Georgia compared to any other state. We've been talking about this issue, and now we have another state commission to study the issue.
Boy, you know, talk about pushing the peas around the plate. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Lori and I will remember that probably 10 years ago, a commission was created, and in an unprecedented bit of language, requires prosecution of anyone who releases any information about the findings of that commission. So that's been operating. I don't know if it's been operating because we can't get any information. Now they're starting another one. You want to do something about maternal death in this state? Expand Medicaid, get the federal funds, open health care in rural parts of this country, and quit legislating how medical doctors practice medicine so they don't leave the state for better pastures.
Well, we've expanded Medicaid for pregnant women. Okay, that has been done. That was done in the last legislative session.
If you're in bad health when you get pregnant,
I get it.
What you do in those 9 months is not going to be helped by Medicaid expansion in that limited way.
I get it, but I think I agree with you. It should be out there, and we should be working on this issue. But we have expanded Medicaid for pregnant women. There are lots of resources that are out there. We need to work on rural health care, and I agree with you about that.
All right, moving on. Coming up, problems still plague Fulton County after a major cyber attack.
Join the discussion on the Georgia Gang Facebook page and watch past episodes on the Georgia Gang YouTube channel.
More than 2 weeks after cyber criminals attacked Fulton County, the problems continue. Officials have confirmed that the cyber criminals who targeted the county are after money. Now, Fulton County will not say what the hackers might have, but according to a screenshot from the alleged hacking group's website posted on social media, it might include confidential documents and personal data of citizens. Phil.
Well, this is awful, and it's happening all over the country. It's happening more and more in Georgia. One county recently had to pay the ransom. It wasn't all that much. You still hate to use taxpayers' money for it. This is controversial. This has been going on for over a week. I tried to call some judges. Their phones wouldn't work. The clerk of court's office was paralyzed for several days. It's still, as we tape on Friday, a problem in some areas. I think the ransom ought to be paid. I did visit the Augusta Cyber Center where they track a lot of this, and maybe we can find out. It's going to take a while. Maybe we can find out who didn't claw that money back.
Kathy.
Well, I think who did it is probably associated with the Russian government, and I don't know that we'll ever be able to claw it back. But I think, governments all over this country and really all over the world are now having to figure out kind of how to harden their data in ways that, stay ahead of the hackers. I do want to say that it's important for people to understand that the election center is sort of separated from that in a number of different ways to protect, how those machines are loaded and also how they communicate with the state. That doesn't mean the phones get answered, but it does mean the data is protected.
Good point.
I think that's important
to bring out, yes. Well, there's now a visible police presence on the campus of Benjamin E. Mays High School in Southwest Atlanta after a shooting on Thursday afternoon sent 4 students to the hospital. Then over in Cobb County, there was another town hall meeting for parents concerned about safety after 2 young men were shot in the parking lot of McEachern High School. Alicia.
Yeah, this is heartbreaking, Lori. I see this as a parent, right? I sent Layla to school this morning, and you have to think about, is my child going to come home safe? And so I have to say it's pretty tone deaf right now for Republicans to be passing tax holidays for guns when parents are worried about, will my baby come home safe? We've got to get serious about this. We've got to keep guns out of the wrong hands. I'm married to a police officer. We have guns at home. I respect the Second Amendment, but this is about the proliferation of guns in the hands of young people. I also think it's important that we've got to spend some time talking to young people. Why do you think you have to solve conflict with a gun? Where are you getting these guns from? We're not talking enough and hearing their voices, but we have to get serious. This is not about cute talking points. This is about saving lives. And I'm tired of talking about it and praying about it. I want something to be done.
And we saw juveniles in the Kansas City shooting too arrested.
Absolutely. And, I've talked about it before, the program that they have in Hall County where they're doing conflict resolution from every employee all the way down to the students. They have drastically reduced the disagreements that have happened between coworkers and between students. And they're spreading this program out around the state. And the thing is, we know who these school shooters are. They go to the schools or they have connections to the schools. So if you can control and help with the conflict resolution, you're going to reduce a lot of this. There's other work that needs to be done, Absolutely. Okay? But this is a step that is working and we can measure it.
Phil?
Well, guns aren't the major problem. They are a problem, but I'm going to talk about a little bit what both of you did talk about, and that is the juveniles involved, because we talked about gangs. There is a gang crisis here, and that's what we have to be dealing with. I'm tired of the newspapers saying, oh, these are personal disputes. Most of them are gang disputes.
And I will say Fani Willis has been cracking down on the gangs. Kathy.
Well, let's just also add into there, we don't need to pass any tax holidays for gun purchases, and if we want to do anything, do a tax holiday for people who want to lock their guns up.
And we'll leave it there, folks. Coming up, winners and losers. Stay tuned.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
A shout out to my Sandy Springs City Councilman Andy Bauman, who invited me to opening night of the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival. Irina's Vow was the opening night movie, and I got to tell you, it was tragic yet inspiring, and I would definitely say a must-see. It's coming out in April to theaters, and there were lots of Georgia Gang viewers at the opening, and a huge shout out to Terry and Valerie Love. They never miss an episode, and they said they would be screaming at their TV if I gave them a shout out. So there you go, and they said hello to everybody.
Well, and also at the at the film festival will be a documentary called Supernova, which is a story of the music festival that happened on October 7th and what happened on that day. And I got a chance to watch the screener. It'll be on Sunday night, so hopefully people will get to see it. My loser this week is Fani Willis. I think that she was emotional. She did not try this the way she would try a case, and I think she hurt herself. And of course, I want to remember again my friend Rod Huey. We're still praying for him. He is a great man and a great pastor, and he needs a lot of prayers.
All right, Alicia.
Speaking of prayers, I want to give my condolences to the family of Ed Tarver, who passed away. He was a former state senator as well as a U.S. attorney, and he passed away, and so our hearts go out to his family and thank him for his service. A couple of winners, also some shout outs. This week at the Capitol was AKA Day at the Capitol, and so there were hundreds of beautiful, brilliant women with pink and green all over the Capitol, and 500 joining us virtually, but we were there to lobby and talk to our legislators, and a couple of very adamant viewers. One of them is Tracy Curry. Soror Tracy, hello, and thank you for watching. And to a husband, Tracy Bullock, also watches as one of the husbands of the AKA. So thank you for watching. We appreciate our viewers very, very much. Yes. And then finally, I want to say happy birthday to my husband. Yeah. We're celebrating him this week. I love you. Can't wait to celebrate you.
Happy birthday, Phil.
I agree with you on Ed Tarver. He was my friend when I lived in Augusta. Yes. He wasn't a crazy Democrat. He was a good Democrat. But anyhow, my winner is, of course, Governor Brian Kemp for sending National Guard folks to help protect our border. And my winner is also Representative Butch Parrish. You know, he became the head of the Rules Committee in the State House of Representatives, very powerful committee named by the Speaker.
Kathy?
Great. My winner is UGA and the funding to create a medical school there. Back to the point of healthcare in Georgia, that's going to be an important addition for us. And my losers are Senate Bill 88, which regulates how both private schools and public schools can speak about LGBT issues. It's so bad and so confusing that even Republicans oppose it.
All right, we'll leave it there, folks. Thanks and have a great week.